contain its profligate spending, its extreme wastage, not even do a spending review of, for example, ghost employees in the system, but just continue taxing South Africans till they cannot even put food on the table, as my colleague Karabo so eloquently said a moment ago. So our plan B is to take this to court. Our plan B is very strong and solid. This morning I signed these papers. These are crucial papers that are going to really change the face of how these decisions are taken in Parliament and change the decision to increase your VAT. It will ensure that we prevent that. And these papers have two parts. The first is to get the process on the 1st of April that transpired in the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Finance declared null and void because they were unprocedural. Therefore, to set aside any decision they took. And the second part of Part A is to interdict a VAT increase on the 1st of May. So that's an urgent case to interdict a VAT increase. The second part of these papers is to get Section 7.4 of the VAT Act declared unconstitutional because it gives the Minister the power to enforce a VAT increase without taking it through Parliament and without the need to have the fiscal framework and other legislation required passed in Parliament. So it gives the Minister legislative powers to pass laws simply by making a statement. And we know that that is unconstitutional, and we want the court to declare it now. So we feel we've got a very strong case in law. The DA has been around the block enough to know it never can predict the outcome of a court case, but this is as strong a case as you are likely to get. And this is our plan B. We were hoping, against hope, that we would be able to get the ANC to compromise, to act honorably. It didn't do that. Instead, it did some backroom deals with parties that are not even in the GNU and tried to trump us, and I use that word advisedly. They are going to see what the outcome is of that, because we will push them back yet again in the interests of South Africans.
Thank you very much, Mama Zilla. Colleagues, that is that. I am now going to open up for a round of questions. Dr. Burke is here to answer technical questions on the processes of April Fool's Day. And from there, we'll also have, if you want substantive questions from Helen or myself on what we're going to do, I'll do that. So as is standard protocol, your name, the news house that you represent, and to whom that you're addressing your question. I'll start on my right. I'll start here.
I'm doing one by one.
No. So you ask, I close a round, and then people answer, and then I'll come back and take another round.
I'm Lee waiting from the SABC. I'd like to find out, in the light of quite a few parties who are part of the GNU who voted in support yesterday afternoon, what is the plan going forward in terms of the GNU and the DA's place in such a GNU?
Okay, cool.
Just take three questions.
My name is Babalon Denzel from EW.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's a crime against Islam in South Africa. The Jewish leader in South Africa. I'm Irish Khalid, I'm a Moroccan nationality. I was accused of being a terrorist in South Africa. I used to wholesale perfumes. And Jewish people faked my perfume to bombs. Jewish in South Africa, they faked my perfume to bomb. They raped my wife.
I'm going to ask us to hold off a bit so that we can still be able to conduct our meeting. All right. Please continue, sir.
Okay, my question, can we view these papers that you filed here as maybe you filing most papers in the GNU, or is that too premature at the moment? And, is it possible for your members in the cabinet to implement this budget that they are so opposed to? And is it workable? And can you just confirm that this is both papers? And can your members be in a position to implement such a budget that you are so opposed to?
Okay, the last question of this round, and then so I'm just taking three, and then I'll take 3-3. We don't have hand. handbooks.
Good morning, Helen. I'm Kevin Brandt, ENCA. My question is just with regard to the impasse over the budget, with sentiments that it has more to do with the demands from the DA that the ANC did not accede to, as opposed to the VAT hike, and also just where to move for the GNU from there.
Are we filing divorce papers and are our ministers going to roll out this budget?
Okay. Do you want to go closer?
I'm not sure that I caught all of those.
Okay, well, let me just quickly answer the ones that I think I can answer. Right. Number one, the DA's federal executive will be meeting today. We will consider every aspect of this case, strategy and tactics. We will be discussing the content of our court case and looking at various milestones that we predict coming up in the near future. We know that whatever decision we take will have profound implications for South Africa and for our economy, so we're not rushing into anything. We are going to consider all the options, look at all the consequences, and try to predict the unintended consequences, and then make a rational decision on the basis of those at the right time. I think that answers Babalo's question as well, does it? And then Kevin's question, Kevin said, was this about that or was it about a wider economic package? Well, it was about both. Because we are here to get the ANC to share power, most crucially on an economic plan to save South Africa. And so if the ANC wants to do something that we reject, like a 2% VAT increase, which it was initially, if they want to do something that we reject, and they say we'll give up on that, then we say we want X, Y, and Z. That's how negotiations work. And at the top of all the GNU's documents, you will see that it says a plan to get economic growth and jobs. That's what it says. But usually in the body of the text, if it comes from the ANC, it's a plan to undermine economic growth and destroy jobs. And we're not in the government to do that. We are there to grow the economy and create jobs. We know that being in a coalition requires compromise. You can't get it all, but the ANC also can't get it all. And they are refusing point blank to share power. What they want is for the other parties in the GNU to say, we will support the ANC's plan. We will back it. We will bring our votes to ensure that it gets through the parliamentary processes. That's not what we want. We are there because we promised South Africans in the election campaign that we would rescue South Africa, which crucially means getting the economy growing. And that is why the plan to grow the economy was central to the VAT negotiation.
Right, I'm going to come to this side and come back here. I'll start with you, Zianda Ebra.
Thank you so much. It's Zianda from Newsroom Africa. I'll direct this to you, Helen. What would you say to people critiquing you for actually inviting another arm of state to intervene in what was by and large a political process in Parliament in a standing committee, and that you essentially lost by a vote, that you didn't speak to other political parties about voting with you in that standing committee on finance? The other thing, Helen, here is that the minister could still issue a gazette, which is what it seems actioners say and the ANC have committed to say effectively we won't have this 0.5 percentage point VAT hike because within the next 30 days we're going to come up with revenue proposals. So in other words, you both want the same thing but different avenues, and you are an oppositionist party in the government of national unity, as one Gwede Mantashe has accused you of being. Helen, thanks.
So answer immediately.
Sure, Zianda, thank you very much for that question. The bottom line is, let me start with that Action South Africa and the DA don't want the same things. Action South Africa is confining their discussions to a very narrow matter that will do nothing to change the economic trajectory of South Africa. If they believe the ANC, and if the ANC does indeed make a concession that removes that doesn't go near enough to getting an economic plan on the table that will grow the economy and create jobs. So we don't want exactly the same thing. We want the barriers to growth to be removed. We want actions to be taken that will fix infrastructure, that will fix the network industries, that will do a spending review, that will do a regulatory review. That's what is needed to fix the economy. And it was a package that we negotiated together on the VAT increase. So we want a whole lot more to rescue South Africa. That's the first thing. The second question is, did you take something to the courts that should be sorted out in Parliament? Yes, we are taking something to the court that should be sorted out in Parliament, but Parliament has to follow its own rules, Parliament has to follow the law, and Parliament has to abide by the Constitution. And if they don't do that, our only remedy is to go to court. That is what a constitutional democracy is. We believe in the rule of law, we all do. We believe in constitutions, we all do. And that means the government has to be the first to abide by its own rules and constitution. In announcing the VAT hike in the first instance, the minister was violating the constitution because he was announcing something that would happen whether or not it went through Parliament. And that has to be changed. So that's necessary because only a court can adjudicate that that is unconstitutional. And secondly, in the Portfolio Committee, they have to abide by the procedure. If, for example, they simply refuse to have a vote on the entire document and the recommendations before it goes to Parliament, that violates their own rules. So we're talking about the rule of law here. And unless laws are passed procedurally, and unless committees conduct themselves procedurally, the only remedy we've got is to go to court.
Colleagues, I'm going to take the remaining two hands of this round. We conclude there, then I'll take a final round, then we will conclude.
Thank you, Kedabo. First of all, Mark, we were in the ASA meeting now, and they accused you of not being very good in how you negotiated. You spoke down to them, you were rude, you were arrogant, you treated them very poorly. They said that the DA, they reached out to you guys, and you guys refused to work with any other party, only the ANC. Also, the sticking point, they said, well, they never said that now, but I've been told that the issues of umbrella and expropriation, and I think the NYDA, those were non-negotiables for you guys. Is that true or not? And then I have been told that one of your ministers, in fact, hosted a farewell party for his staff last night.
Okay,
They're probably going on a trip.
let's take the last hand of this round.
Morning, Paul Bekiato from Bloomberg. Helen, you said you got a number of plans, so if the court doesn't hear this application, what's the plan next?
Cool. Okay, now the first half, the second half of the question on the ballot.
Just repeat what I heard, which is that as of this morning, Action SA is referring to me individually as rude, arrogant, and perhaps condescending. I'm not sure if I got all the adjectives right. What I heard earlier is that they had also said that I was a case study in obstructionism. And I'd say two things to that last allegation. The first is it's in the DA's blood to be a case study in obstructionism. When South African government turns pernicious and tries to punish South Africans, we obstruct. We've done it for 30 years proudly, it's not about to end now. The second bit is there's a problem in South African society and politics that when you've lost the argument, you go ad hominem and it becomes about the individual. I know while I'm standing here that I've got the whole of South Africa standing behind me saying we've been overburdened, we cannot afford more taxes, this is unacceptable. And so I would say to whoever is levelling these allegations, keep them coming. We will not be deterred. We will defend South Africans. If you want to go out and advocate for a VAT increase and attack us for doing so, we're ready for that fight.
Right, it's quite amazing what kind of rumours get put around this fact. The basic education Education Law Amendment Act, otherwise known as NELA, has not even entered this discussion. The national health insurance is central to the budget, obviously, because money has to be set aside for it. So to raise issues that are relevant to NHI is totally within the framework of budget discussions. And of course we raised the Expropriation Act because if you want to have economic growth and jobs, that is incompatible with the sentence in a law that says government can expropriate your property for no compensation. We wanted that replaced by fair and equitable, just and equitable compensation, which is what the Constitution says. It's not a hard sell to the ANC. We're asking them just stick by the Constitution. And if our objective is growth and jobs, then we have to point out to the government it is our duty to say which laws are providing a massive obstacle to growth and jobs.
Can we see the papers, Helen?
Oh yes, you want to see the papers, right. Again, so heavy I can hardly hold them up. I had my nails done for this paper.
Okay. All right, cool. I'm going to take the last round, colleagues, then I am closing. So I'm going to return here. Is there anyone this side? No? Okay. 1, 2. Is there anyone who didn't ask a question before Babalo? Okay. 1, 2, 4. Great.
Maybe, is this are you challenging the entire budget process from tabling to the budget process of the budget process, etc.? And what happens tomorrow with the other money bills?
Sendo.
He says that the DA has defined itself outside of the DA by not voting for the budget. You said that there's still a decision to be made about the future of the DA in the GNU, but don't you think such a discussion by the President with the ANC indicates that the relationship is at a point of no return? And how does one navigate now in the GNU if you decide to stay? To amend that relationship into a good one as in the beginning of the GNU. Thank you.
The last one, Paul, Mike, please.
Helen, will the DA take all the executive meet today?
Paul, wait for the mic.
All right. DA, Paul, Secretary, I'll take from Monday. Helen, will your federal executive meet today to discuss this? And then, do you have any plans of having a meeting with the ANC to discuss this, especially with your counterpart at
Sendo. Don't cross the line, bro.
I don't want to get too stuck on legal technicalities, but let me, for the sake of the question, quickly repeat it. The question was roughly whether we are challenging the whole budget and the process around that. The budget is that, it's a process. The first step was meant to go in a procedurally sound manner this week, which was the fiscal framework. What comes after that is DORA, the Division of Revenue, the Appropriations Bill, and then finally the tax laws and related matters. The procedural issue we have here that we've now filed papers for is nothing about Tuesday was sound. We sat for a 9-hour marathon meeting, chaired in probably the most inconsistent way. I could only describe it as almost trying to be bad at it. So the process there is not sound. We're challenging that. It led to a farcical report, of course, on the 1st of April. And that farcical report was yesterday voted for in Parliament. But I must point out that the final step on any report is you should have the report to be able to vote on it. We had a report at the start of the day. People voted for something in the ether, and there wasn't even proper voting on the report itself. There's a broad discussion on some suggestions. So the whole thing was procedurally flawed. We are opposing that, and then as we've mentioned now, there's another issue here, which is that the Minister issues a diktat on VAT. And if he doesn't have the support in Parliament, There's no way South Africans can be refunded. And in fact, people coming to South Africa can be refunded for that expenditure that changes and then changes back. That is a problem. The minister should have the support of Parliament to be able to issue diktats such as this. And so that's the second thing that's being challenged here. And of course we'll have to now monitor the remaining 3 bills that I've described and see if they are procedurally sound in the way that they go about trying to pass those through Parliament. I hope I've clarified a bit.
Yes, yes. Wil jy vraag gek met die vraag Afrikaans maak? Ja. Okay, ek sal my bes doen. Ek is seker almal verstaan Afrikaans. Die president? Okay, I'll do English. Can I do English first and then Afrikaans? Thank you. The question was, given the leaked audio from the ANC-NEC meeting, in which President Ramaphosa was reported as saying the DA has defined itself out of the GNU, where do things stand and how can things continue? Now, I've been involved in many negotiations with ANC, and sometimes they didn't even rock up for critical engagements, and people said, well, this is the end, that obviously this has collapsed. It is very difficult to continue in a coalition in good faith with parties that have no good faith, you can say that. And if there was a display of bad faith, it was extreme bad faith in the middle of negotiations with the DA for the ANC to be shopping around for support by parties that are not in the GNU. And obviously by making people promises of the consequences and then trying to get the DA to define themselves out of the GNU as the president's state. You know what's been going on. We were negotiating in good faith with the ANC. They were negotiating under the carpet and around the back door with other parties and making promises to them to put together another configuration of the GNU. That's what was going on. And if that isn't bad faith, I don't know what is. But we've learnt over the years that the ANC is very rarely, and anybody who believes them is often going to be very disillusioned. And that is where Action South Africa is going to find itself now. Also, when the ANC has to run a 10-party coalition in which every one of its 9 partner parties has the balance of power and can bring down the government, good luck to them. Currently, we've effectively got a 2-party coalition, the ANC and the DA, and they can't even run that effectively, and they can't even run that in good faith. Now they want to go into something where they're going to have a 10-party coalition, in which every one of their partners will have the balance of power to bring down the government. Good luck with that. Well, ja, nou, Afrikaans. Okay. Ek sal nie die vraag herhaal nie, want ons opname, jonge. Dankie. Die jongmans weet alles wat. Daar was 'n opname van die nasionale uitvoerende komitee van die ANC waarin President Ramaphosa vroeër gesê het dat die DA hom uit die regering van nasionale eenheid uitgedefinieer. Nou, dit is eintlik laf, want die ANC probeer om die DA uit die regering van nasionale eenheid te definieer. Ons was besig met goeie vrou onderhandelings met die ANC, terwyl hulle agter die skerms besig was met kleiner partye wat glad nie in die regering van nasionale eenheid tans is, om deals met hulle te doen, om hulle posisies te beloof en om te sê, dis hoe julle vir die DA gaan vnuik met ons. So hulle beraam en planne beraam met mense buite die RNE om hulle koalisieparty te ondermyn en te vnuik, terwyl ons besig was in goeie vrou onderhandelings met die ANC.
Wat is die volgende stap vir die DA in die RNE, sien dit dat baie van die partye in die RNE gister gestem het vir die
Ons is ons is verantwoordbaar aan ons kiesers en al die kiesers van Suid-Afrika. Ons kan nie verantwoordbaar wees vir partye wat besluit hulle posisies in die RNE meer belangrik is as die kiesers. Hulle moet daardie oordeel vel. Nommer 1. Al die partye uit die RNE wat met die ANC gestem het vir 'n belasting Stop that again. Sorry. I'm sorry about that. Sometimes for Afrikaans the tank runs empty. So you need to just pour a bit more. Okay, let me start again. Yeah, my bundles are out. Okay, let me go there. Okay. Wat die ander partye in die RNE betref, wat met die ANC gestem het, is die antwoord soos hulle moet verantwoording doen aan die kiesers en die mense wat onder hulle besluit gaan neem. Maar die oorsaak van daardie besluit is die feit dat hulle te klein is om enige magsbalans te kan uitoefen in die RNE. So as hulle sê die ANC ons stem teen julle, dan word hulle net gefire deur Silverhouse. Hulle word afgedank, smeer. As die president besluit om die DA smeer af te dank, dan val die regering soos dit nou daar uitsien. En ons het daardie hefkrag as het ware, en hulle het geen hefkrag. Hulle moet bloot ja en amen vir die ANC sê as hulle poste wil behou. En met meeste van hulle gaan dit oor poste en nie oor beginsels nie.
And then last one, are you talking to any other parties, maybe the NPA or EFF to join the
Is this April Fool's Day?
No.
Thank you very much, colleagues. That brings us to the end of our conversation here. We will be available to have one-on-ones if